Hi everyone. It is November 4. No, it's December. Sorry about that. December 4, 2023. Hello, Lindy London, Analog Synth Player, and TFL at War, and Genesis. Hello. No. Do you ever think about posting all of the links you post in the chat from last night's show in today's chat to get more people to watch and share before your live stream starts? No, I haven't. Hi Sherry, thank you very much. Andrew Cruz, Autominic, Donna Davidson, and Hitena, and Elizabeth Rivard. Hi. Something to chew on. And Haskasun, Oracle 11, Patricia White, Rick Yorkin, The Hypocrites Matrix, Laura Florison, M. Mercer. Hi. And Reality Decoded. Alright, so we're going to just start. We're just going to go. Yeah. It's very discouraging having channels get these community guideline strikes, and that disrupts what's happening on one channel. Then you go to another channel and you know, everything just, it's like imploding. I just feel like, for me, the cyber world is definitely imploding. It's very, very difficult. And really tired of it. Anyway, so what? Arizona.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Oh, you have a warm jacket. Nice. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Fine. So hot.
Hey, yo, Nala.
I don't know what that means.
I love you. I love you.
Uh-huh.
California. Chinese nationals. Oh, and a lot are military-aged men. This again, Arizona, Lukeville, and Eagle Pass, Texas, continue being hot spots for the mass illegal entries into the U.S.
Still down here. Women and children trickle in. This guy's been out for 5 days. That's what it is.
No problem. Our economy is doing so beautifully. Forever Flowers, you're M. Mercer, and I saw you in here as M. Mercer and Forever Flowers. Are you working 2 channels on this live? M. Mercer, Forever Flowers. Huh. Okay. Now, I posted last night in the live about Lukeville, Arizona. The entry point from Mexico into the United States was closing down to pedestrian and traffic, vehicle traffic. Closing down because there's, well, you've seen how many are at the crossing, Lukeville, and they need those border agents to process all of the people that are coming illegally into our country. Closed down today, indefinitely. No border agents. So I thought it was closed to pedestrians. Apparently not.
So the port is closed indefinitely right now. It just closed tonight. And you got it. I don't see any border patrol out here. Just a bunch of people coming through. So this is closed. I don't see any border patrol anywhere. So they're coming through. They're probably gonna go up the road and figure it out. Yeah. So this is wow. Look at there's no border patrol, so they're coming. I don't know how they knew to come through here. Wow. So I see zero border patrol because
I guess it's closed. It looks closed, doesn't it? Closed to pedestrians, but not illegal migrants. Senator Dick Durbin wants to make it possible for illegal immigrants to join the U.S. military.
Shores in our border. But there's also an incredible demand for legal immigration into this country even now. The presiding officer, my colleague from the state of Illinois, what troubles me.
Well, let's just hear that again. There's an incredible demand for legal immigration. So he just admitted that those who are crossing the border are crossing illegally.
About the debate now about the southern border is it is one half of the immigration equation. Yes, we need order at the border. Yes, we need to have changes in the laws that reflect the reality of the overwhelming numbers from all over the world who are coming to our shores and our border. But there's also an incredible demand for legal immigration into this country even now. The presiding officer, my colleague from the state of Illinois, has legislation which addresses one aspect of that. Her bill, and I hope I describe it accurately, says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, You can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States. Do we need that? Do you know what the recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force? They can't reach their quotas each month. They can't find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country. Should we give them the chance? I think we should. And let me tell you about...
Yeah, let's give these people a chance. Join the military. I'm sure you're going to be loyal to the country that destroyed your country. I'm sure you're going to be loyal. Americans, you failed. Big time failure of the population. Allowing this to just go on and on and on and on. And these people dictate. They dictate to you how you're going to live. Wow, man. New York lawmaker claims smoking gun in New York City migrant voter fraud scheme. She's found a smoking gun. Evidence in New York City, which is trying to illegally register migrants to vote in upcoming elections. On page 50 of this contract, there is an entire section dedicated to voter registration. And this is a Republican rep from New York, Nicole Maliotakis. On Sunday, all right, after she and 4 other Staten Island Republicans claimed a city contract with a nonprofit hired to run a Staten Island shelter that includes a stipulation that voter registration forms are to be distributed around voter registration in shelter contracts, and this guidance applies only to eligible clients who are citizens and would clearly not apply to asylum seekers in shelters. So why have that in the contract? That's why this what? What? What are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me? Okay. And this is a Honduras Walmart. So you can't claim that people are coming here because of lack of food. That's for sure. But notice how clean it is and how full it is. And I've mentioned in live streams before, the Nogales, Arizona Walmart puts all of the other Walmarts that I've been to all over the country to abject shame. It is clean. There are people who actually work there. You can ask them where things are, and they tell you. And the shelves are stocked. Nogales is 2 miles away from Mexico. Americans, you're being treated like shit, and it's purposeful.
Some prices now in Lampiras in Walmart in Tegucigalpa, Honduras. Unfortunately, it's not in dollars. So you can see there's plenty of food though. Giant Walmart. There's another Walmart in this town as well. Haven't been to it, but the other one is supposed to be much bigger than this one. But this is a normal giant size Walmart, you know, large store. Just giving you a quick look-see. The food is full here. Everything, big, wide aisles, giant aisles. So that's it. Just wanted to give you a quick look-see. There are Walmarts here that people bypass on the way to our Walmarts.
And look how clean the floors are. Yeah. Cosmopolitan magazine promotes satanic abortion ritual to its readers. Okay, I'm not religious. I can now use those terms when decades ago I couldn't. I wouldn't listen to anybody who said Satan, evil, yes, but an awful lot of religious terms, I would just roll my eyes and, wow, is it in our face that we have true evil, satanic worshipers who are at it, and they're bringing it on. If we have people who believe in Jesus Christ, why wouldn't we have people who believe in Lucifer? Why wouldn't, if people believe in God, why wouldn't they believe in the personification of God? Why wouldn't they believe in Satan? Yes, there are satanic worshipers, and they're winning. They're winning because the good side ain't fighting against them. The popular magazine tailored toward the vanity of naive young women recently shared instructions with readers on how to perform a satanic abortion ritual via its Instagram account. What it's like to have a satanic abortion. For Jessica, a 37-year-old mother of 3 who received abortion medication via Samuel Alito's mom's satanic clinic, the experience was just very supportive. They named this clinic after Justice Alito's mom. Why? Because he penned the majority opinion on Dobbs versus Women's Health, the case which overturned the long-standing precedent set forth by Roe v. Wade. So how does a satanic abortion ceremony even work? Patients of all faiths are welcome at Samuel Alito's mom's satanic abortion clinic in New Mexico, along with medical counsel. TST offers free ceremonial support to everyone. Abortion ceremonies are totally optional and customizable. And here's a simple one. TST recommends. Oh my God. Yes, well, the 37-year-old mom said, while she's not a Satanist, Jessica decided to incorporate a few ceremonial elements into her solo abortion experience. Why not, she thought. The overall messaging just clicked with her. Holy shit. Okie dokie. Well, we're in big, big trouble. Yeah. Hunter Biden sent direct monthly payments to Joe via an account paid from China and other shady corners of the world. But I know, Americans, you just have to live your self-centered life and not care about anything that is going on. The criminals who are dictating to you how you will live. Well, I haven't felt it yet, and I'm still in my comfort zone, so leave me alone. Yeah. You're going to be ripped out of that comfort zone soon enough. And Hillary Clinton, here she is. What is she saying? Oh, extreme heat has killed 500 million people? It's true. She said it.
We're seeing and beginning to pay attention and to count and record the deaths that are related to climate, and by far the biggest killer is extreme heat. I mean, even in Europe last summer, which has the ability to count and figure out what happened, they recorded 61,000 deaths because of the heat in Europe. We don't have that kind of number yet from Africa, Asia, Latin America, but we know and estimate that we probably could measure about 500,000 deaths. And
Wow, yeah. You know, I think about what's going on every day. And sometimes, yeah, I think about decades ago when we had those politicians. Every one of them had to declare that they were a Christian. Every one. When they were campaigning, they had to declare they were Christian. And how often did I hear that this is a Christian nation? Isn't it funny? No, it's not funny. The problem is a whole lot of Christians live a satanic lifestyle. The lying in this country, this has been, well, let's just say a thorn in my side for my entire adult life. The lying in this country and the acceptance of it sure as hell told me there's nothing Christian about it. The liars continue. So this was an undercover video with CNN technical director Charlie Chester in 2021. So here you have Miss Lying propagandist lying about 500,000 people died from heat, extreme heat, right? Well, where was this? At COP28. The same people who have been lying to us forever continue to lie. Because we clearly couldn't get enough people to stop the liars, to hold them accountable. And they're admitting that they were going to switch from Trump to climate change. The propagandists.
I think there's just like a COVID fatigue. So like whenever a new story comes up.
Sorry, it was COVID fatigue to climate change.
They're going to latch onto it. They've already announced in our office that once the public will be open to it, we're going to start focusing mainly on climate, climate like global warming, and like that's going to be our next like I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be our focus. Like our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness.
What does that look like?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I have a feeling it's just going to be like constantly showing videos of like decline in ice and weather warming up and like the effects it's having on the economy and really talking. Who
decides that?
Head of the network, like just.
Who's that? Is that Zucker?
Zucker, yeah. I imagine that he's got his council and they've all like discussed like where they think.
So that's like the next
pandemic like story like that will be to death, but that one's got longevity, you know what I mean? It's not like there's a definitive ending to the pandemic, or like it'll taper off to a point that it's not a problem anymore. I think it's going to take years, so they'll probably be able to milk that for quite a bit,
So climate change overload.
Be prepared, it's coming. Stories, like right now, we had an inside track right now where 2 stories are going to be pushed. Climate change is going to be the next COVID thing for CNN. We're gonna hone in.
Focus on that.
I love it.
But that's a fair thing.
You saw that coming forever, and it's always evergreen.
But to commit to that as an network.
You said it's going to be like the new COVID.
I feel like, well, that's the way it was built. Unless that was just a call to arms to get people to start writing and then we'll assess it. I don't know. But
Do you think it's going to be just like a lot of like fear? Like climate?
yeah, fear sells.
Yes, there is another message, Elizabeth, when I am talking about Christians. First of all, I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed by the majority of Christians who are not real. They lie, they cheat, and they steal, greedy, self-centered, and they betray Jesus, they betray God, and that upsets me. But when you still have a majority, and wow, from the inception of the good old US of A, 97% Christian. That's why everybody was saying it was a Christian nation. Now, I think it's probably under 74%. Still a majority. Where are you? And what other group would you think would be fighting the Satanists? What other group would be fighting all of the liars and the corrupt politicians? You'd think Christians would be right there. It's obvious, and that's why I do speak a lot about Christians, because they have been in my face for decades, claiming something that all you have to do is observe, and they're not that. And that's upsetting to me. I don't like liars. I don't like hypocrites. They do an awful lot of damage. When that huge majority of the population could have brought in an incredible, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Big fail. So, it's part of the prophecy. Yes, it's part of the prophecy for everybody to sit back and just let the evil destroy other people. Oh, okay. So, let's just have a little bit of a break and read some funny signs. Carroll County Veterinary Clinic. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to see it, a chihuahua 500 miles away will bark at it. The first person to hear a parrot talk was probably not okay for several days. So this Carroll County Veterinary Clinic puts up funny little signs. Dog is such a small word for something that takes up so much room in your heart. Absolutely. My dog will eat anything until you put a pill in it. Then he's Gordon Ramsay. I don't know who Gordon Ramsay is. It amazes me how much exercise and extra fries sound like. Don't get that. The inventor of the doorbell did not own a dog. If you lose a sock in the dryer, it returns as a Tupperware lid that doesn't fit any containers. Cats can memorize 120 commands, but they don't want to. When bees move into a new hive, do they have a housewarming party? I have to say, for some bizarre reason, I am getting attacked by bees in this motorhome, and it's pissing me off. She believed she could, but her cat was asleep on her lap, so she didn't. I understand that one. There should be a calorie refund for things that don't taste as good as you expected. Home is where the dog hair sticks to everything but the dog. I don't think it's fair that only roosters are allowed to start the day screaming. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Whoever said that diamonds are a girl's best friend never owned a dog. I would say that's true. I told my cat, "You are not the boss of me." He disagreed. Having cats in the house is like living with art that throws up on the carpet. What kind of doctor is Dr. Pepper? A physician. Alright, well, okay. Jellyfish are just wet ghosts. Yeah. Dogs are living proof that good still exists in the world. We're sorry, said no cat ever. Alright, I'll put the link in. There's, oh, that link is too long. Sorry, folks. Alright. Moving on. Now, I haven't verified this myself, but this is pretty friggin' scary. Look at this. 1961. So the white British population in London has gone from 98% in 1961 to 37% in 2021. Replacement theory much? Is it a theory? Or is it a theory that they have put into practice? I've got to delete this. So, Rise Melbourne, he's calling this a PSYOP, what was taking place with the whistleblower scandal in New Zealand and the arrests being made of the whistleblowers that I had included in my live last night. You get a little nervous speaking on YouTube now, but with the excess deaths, right? Okay, so I think most of you know what I'm talking about. So I'm calling this one I am now 100% sure the jailed Vax whistleblower scandal is a government-run psyop. The reason for the psyop is simple: to scare anyone who would be whistleblowers into coming forward. They don't need any more psyops. Our populations are scared shitless, scared into silence. Very few people have courage today. You don't need any more psyops like this. People are being arrested. So a psyop, would that mean that the whistleblowers were not really arrested? You know, they're just trying to make people believe that this is what's going to happen if you speak up? This is happening. And it works well. A whole lot of people are absolutely used as an example to all the rest. Shut up, or this will happen to you as well. U.S. signs new climate pact to shut down all coal plants. So this is what Biden was talking about. The video that I played yesterday. Yes, John Kerry, the United States, proudly committed to not build another coal plant and to get rid of existing ones entirely to meet our goal of 100% carbon pollution-free electricity by 2035. We need to phase out unabated coal. These are the people who are destroying your life. We can't get rid of them. Unbelievable. We will be working to accelerate unabated coal phase out across the world, building stronger economies and more resilient communities. The first step is to stop making the problem worse. Stop building new coal plants. And just under 20% of U.S. electricity was powered by coal. And again, China. China saw coal power projects jump in 2022. Coal power construction starts, new project announcements, and plant permissions accelerated dramatically in China. But let's move all Americans to wind and solar that is so unbelievably unreliable and just kill off everything that is reliable and just believe all of the lies. Believe them. Believe all of the lies and let us get rid of everything like our gas stoves, and bring in, everything that is very, very expensive to update your homes with your energy use. Get that smart meter so they know how much energy you are using. And all of it goes to just destroying our lives. Believe climate change. Okay? Weather modification, geoengineering, look up at the sky. It's just not real. Pretend it's just an illusion. U.S. factory orders plunged, most since COVID lockdowns in October. We are literally hanging by a thread. Our economy is hanging by a thread. More Americans tapping into retirement savings as hardship withdrawals rise. Americans are increasingly pulling money out of their 401k plans to pay bills. But hey, inflation is your fault. It's your fault. And other self-loathing liberal lies. Okay. And I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to mention it again. When I'm reading articles, I see how many people are now cursing. People are fed up, unbelievably frustrated, stressed out, and they're just cursing throughout their articles. We never saw that before, but here. This weekend, The Atlantic, the same publication that got down on its hands and knees and begged us for amnesty due to this, the COVID, after being part and parcel with an authoritarian group of psychopaths who were happy to abscond with the civil rights of everybody around them, unilaterally now wants to blame us, everyday Americans, for inflation. How do I know this? They wrote a effing article called "Inflation is Your Fault" and titled it in all capital letters in the douchiest serif font they could find. Subtitle: If people are so mad about high prices, why do they keep buying so many expensive things? Yeah. Effing everything is expensive. So the answer to the question of if people are so mad about high prices, why do they keep buying so many expensive things, could be anything. It could be because people need to wipe their ass with something. It could be because people need bread to eat. It could be because they need to put gas in their car. It could be because they need laundry detergent or a winter jacket. All of these things are expensive things. Nowadays, a fancy typeface can only cover up so much inane, lobotomized bullshit, and they know it's bullshit, but demoralize them further. Kick them when they're down. That's what we do. That's what we're good at. Jeff Bezos-backed real estate company is launched to acquire more single-family homes across the United States. Yes. The very useless eaters, get rid of them. You won't be able to afford a home, an apartment. It's only for those who still have. And the have and have-nots, well, that gap is getting wider and wider. In blow to Uber, Grubhub, and DoorDash, court rules food delivery gig workers must be paid at least $17.96 an hour. And what's that going to do? Well, it's going to end up with people losing their jobs. But people do need more money. So, yeah, I'd say that we are definitely pushed to the corner with no escape. TikTok, part of CCP's cognitive warfare strategy against the United States. What I find interesting here, the CCP calls it cognitive domain warfare. But Mike Gallagher, Republican, Wisconsin, actually said this: cognitive warfare is not something we tend to think about here in the West. Sure, we have ideas like soft power, but they're not a national strategy. On the smokeless battlefield of people's minds, we don't have a standing military at all. Really? Really? I guess he hasn't looked into the military. I guess he hasn't looked into the army that we have on social media. Cognitive warfare. How about NATO also engaged in hybrid warfare? That's a congressman who doesn't even know what's happening. Melatonin use and poisoning reports surging in children. Melatonin consumption in U.S. children and adolescents is exceedingly common. Oh, staring at their cell phones, getting all of those frequencies that deplete melatonin. The kids today, I think 25% have problems sleeping. Hey, but parents, don't keep those cell phones away from them, and keep that Wi-Fi in your homes. Don't let it bother you that you're destroying your children and their health, their minds. Don't let it bother you. Just buy more melatonin. Our universities, colleges are just useless. They're crap. Why more parents continue to pay tuition, get in debt? Why more of these kids are putting themselves in debt when we have an economy hanging by a thread? Yale, Harvard, runaway grade inflation. At Harvard, where roughly 80% of grades were A's. 80% at Harvard were A's. Yale, the same percentage of A's. Virtually identical percentages. Not getting an A at Yale meant that you were in the bottom 20% of the class. For employers and other universities, it renders the grades from Yale, from Harvard, from Spelman, from an awful lot of universities, meaningless. Meaningless in judging the capabilities, the records of students. It's meaningless. Spelman College economics professor Kendrick Morales was fired after objecting to the school raising his grades without his consent, even after massively increasing the grades. Morales worked for 2 years at Spelman and taught 2 upper-level courses. In one class, he added a 20-point grade bump for one test at the request of his department chair. When students overall bombed the final, Morales preemptively raised them 36 points so that a student receiving a 57 would receive an A. Yet even with that increase, 44% of the class still failed. Okay, indeed, they had failed, but Morales says the undergraduate studies dean bumped up the students' grades again without his approval. He objected. He was fired. That's our country. You like it? And yeah, Maine. Wow. Raid on illegal Chinese marijuana operations in western Maine seizes illicit drugs worth $1 million plus. Illegal industrial scale marijuana grow operations in Wilton, Maine, the former location of the Bass Shoe Factory building. CCP has approximately just under 300 of these operations going on in Maine. It seized an estimated 1 million in marijuana. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials said the agency was aware of more than 270 such sites in Maine alone. So the investigation by the Maine Wire, this publication, located more than 100 properties, mostly residential properties, operating as unlicensed marijuana grow facilities and owned by Chinese nationals. Wow. So they're Carmel Dexter. Here's another article. Oh, where did it go? Here. Triad weed. How Chinese marijuana grows took over rural Maine, and that marijuana apparently has a lot of pesticides and a lot of chemicals, and it's not good. And boy, I couldn't believe I was living in rural Maine, this tiny, tiny town with so many closed shops because it was impoverished. And they had a gas station, they had You know, this bakery, they had a horrible supermarket that I hated the smell of it. And they had 4 pot stores. So, gotta wonder, are they fronts for other drugs? So, illegal Chinese marijuana grows have taken over much of rural Maine. Government is either incapable or unwilling to do anything about it. The illicit grows are operated by Asian transnational criminal organizations, and the properties cover Somerset County, Penobscot County, Kennebec County, Franklin County, Androscoggin County, and Oxford County, for anybody who's in Maine. Chinese foreign nationals are exploiting Maine's lax marijuana laws, the Biden administration's immigration policies, and cheap real estate in rural Maine to grow a fortune using exploited illegal alien laborers. So an awful lot of people believe that you gotta go rural, it's the cities. No, there are an awful lot of illegal migrants all over our country. Rural Maine, Montana, all over. And yeah, back to war. Back to war. Israel expands ground operations to whole of Gaza, seeking total victory. Not only are its airstrikes extending to the south of the Gaza Strip, where the bulk of civilians from the north have fled, at the instruction of the IDF, dropping their leaflets in the north, telling them to go to the south. There's no place for any Gazan to go. Because, okay, you guys north, go to the south, and then they drop bombs in the south. And Israel could face strategic defeat, Pentagon chief unleashes controversy with rare warning. Without doubt, military superiority belongs to Israel, but it faces a strategic defeat if it doesn't reduce civilian casualties in Gaza. And they're calling it the Hamas-run Health Ministry. Those numbers? Oh, we don't believe those numbers. The United Nations believes those numbers. The United Nations has been taking those numbers for many, many years. But we're not going to believe it. U.S. government, for sure not the Israeli government, or Western governments who support this genocide. How many? Really? Okay, so the number is now 16,000 dead. I think about 65 or 7,000 children dead. And we're going to quibble? Well, those numbers might not be right. It could be 10,000. So then it's not a genocide? Okay. The White House has questioned the official death count from the Palestinian side. However, even by conservative estimates, civilian deaths are in the multiple thousands. In a recent New York Times article entitled, "Gaza Civilians Under Israeli Barrage Are Being Killed at Historic Pace." The Times said more civilians have died in Gaza since October 7 than have died in Ukraine after nearly 2 years of grinding war with Russia. This is so sickening. It's even hard to read. Center of gravity is the civilian population, and if you drive them into the arms of the enemy, you replace a tactical victory with a strategic defeat. That's what our brilliant Lloyd Austin said. The secretary added that he has personally pushed Israeli leaders to avoid civilian casualties, prevent violence to settlers in the West Bank. We will continue to press Israel to protect civilians and to ensure the robust flow of humanitarian aid. Will you really, as you're sending all of the bombs over to Israel, will you really? Do you really care, Lloyd? I don't think you really care. U.S. efforts to extend Gaza truce are objectively pro-Hamas, and that is from John Bolton, Mr. Warmonger himself, the former National Security Advisor, John Bolton, and Mike Pompeo joined in as well. Oh, that's right, Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State under Trump. All murderers, that's what they are. I think the initial pause now behind us, I think Israel's best judgment here is simply to proceed militarily to achieve the objective it says it wants, which is the elimination of Hamas. Well, they also said the elimination of everyone. Mow the lawn. Gaza, make it a parking lot. What does that mean? It means killing off all Palestinians, not just Hamas. But what? There are still about 170 hostages. Do we not care about them? Apparently not. My God, how sick and twisted we are. An evil, evil, evil nation. How much do Americans trust the media? Well, it's one thing to distrust the media. It's another thing to just sit back and do nothing about it. No trust at all, 2023. Okay, so clearly there's a big rise in Americans not trusting media. In fact, there's even a big rise with people who have little trust in media. This is no trust at all. Little trust in media. Trust the media? Okay, so why aren't people screaming about all of the lies? What are you afraid of? There's a lot to be afraid of. A whole lot. A whole lot. Because people's lives are being destroyed.
So you said that probably a lot of us are afraid. I'm afraid. And
So
maybe-
am I. I'm afraid too. Not to the extent most of you are, but I'm afraid too.
And so we're the same age. I admire the hell out of you for what you do. I want to become less afraid.
Well, what are you afraid of?
Lose my job.
Okay, what's the worst? So tell me more about that.
Well, then I'd have to figure out what to do. And then I have 2 little kids at home. We have a house. I have a wife. We like a lot of what we do, but we feel like there's so much truth to tell. And
So what's holding you back?
fear. It's irrational.
So you have to.
It's not irrational. It is absolutely not irrational, the fear. It's very rational because people's lives are being destroyed. You tell the truth and you happen to be a member of the press, whether independent or mainstream media, a whole lot of people, we're seeing it. It's happening. People love the lies. It's clear that they love the lies because they don't support those who get destroyed. And they know that too. And I'm talking about, I've been completely destroyed. Now, I'm not a James O'Keefe or any of them, but my life has been pretty much snuffed out. It hurts, it's painful, and you've got to live that. So it's not irrational. What we need are more people to support, get organized in communities, help one another. That's the only way that we can manifest anything differently. Otherwise, more and more people will shut up and go along with all of these bullshit narratives, speaking them, or they'll just remain silent, believing that they're good. Believing that they're good. But what allows evil to spread? Good people sitting around doing nothing.
I have this conversation, by the way, every day. I mean, I just had this conversation this afternoon on Instagram, and she said, literally, she said what you're saying. She said, well, I have to provide for my boys. And I said, what do you mean? Are they going to starve to death if you tell the truth? As far as I know, people don't starve in America, at least not yet. So you're going to lose your house? You're going to lose your job?
Actually, people are starving. Live in your bubble. You're not starving. These people aren't starving. A whole lot of people are starving in America. It's happening.
I lost my job. I lost the job. I mean, this is the great. I lost the job for the company that I founded doing this. It doesn't get much more ironic than that. But I'm still standing. So what, I mean, and now I'm going to put you on the spot, but what are we actually afraid of? Especially Christians. That's one of the greatest ironies. Christians they talk about eternal life and they're worried about losing their stuff and their money. I don't get that at all. Because you don't take any of that stuff with you when you die. None of it. And when we're on our deathbed, I'm willing to bet we're probably not thinking about our stuff and our money. Or what type of house we live in. I think we think about whether we followed our conscience. And by the way, I have children. By the way, I don't have children, so I can't fully empathize yet. I hope to have children. But I would think that if I did have children, my little boys would appreciate the fact that I followed my conscience. Even if it meant I lived in a smaller house. Or I had to rent instead of own. I would think that my children would be inspired by that. Rather than that would hurt them. But that's what I think. So you have to really evaluate what's the worst thing that could actually happen to you? And maybe the worst thing is not the worst thing. Maybe it might be the best thing. Because they can stop me, and maybe they will, but they can't stop me and you and like a couple hundred other people. So they can't stop all of us. So what we need to do is awaken a sleeping giant.
What we need are more and more people screaming the truth. More and more and more and more. And when people go down, they need to be supported and lifted back up. So, let's start with this. There goes the Supreme Court in Gaza.
So you see this? So Israel says that thousands of cars destroyed at the festival on October 7th are to be cut up into pieces and buried underground as a mark of respect to those who were killed. You know, the way it's the same respect we show the victims of 9/11 when we carted away any shred of evidence that could have been conclusive proofs of the culprits, right? It's the same way we hid the Kennedy assassination information for more than 2 generations. You know, the way they wanted to bury the Pfizer information from the public for 75 years. It's because those people did something so good, the public can't handle finding out about it. It's like a surprise party. You don't want to ruin the surprise, am I right? And there's no greater sign of respect, which you can show the dead, than to completely hide the evidence of who killed them. Am I wrong?
Well, not only that, didn't we buried bin Laden at sea, right? We never saw the body of Osama
Out of respect.
Yeah, out of respect.
And why did we kill him in the first place? Not because we didn't want him testifying in open court about actually what happened on 9/11 and what his plans were and all that stuff. No, we did it, out of respect again. We killed him. But you know how they have You heard of Plant a Tree for Israel program? This is Plant a Car Destroyed by Israel program. This is the same. It's a little bit of a different thing. So,
well, you know, they should do what we do here in America. They should build a big tower and a memorial and a food court and sell hats and T-shirts. You know, it'll be a big tourist attraction like Ground Zero was, and you know,
it is kind of
burying those cars. Now I've shown this on live. All of these cars, somehow Hamas destroyed all of these cars. And it looks like electromagnetic frequencies did the destruction. Do you think Hamas has those weapons? Of course not. Israel does. Right? And they're going to bury all of those cars to get rid of the evidence. Just like they did with 9/11. Get rid of that evidence. And 9/11, on that day, I'm watching the news. They had brought a whole lot of reporters in from everywhere. This one reporter from Long Island was standing in front of all of these dump trucks. And he was reporting that these dump trucks that were lined up on the West Side Highway, and I know New York, I lived on the West Side Highway, they were trying to get all the cars, they stopped all of the traffic except for the first responders to go in to the very narrow streets down in the World Financial Center. Very narrow. There are still well, I don't know about now, but cobblestone streets. But they had lined up all of these dump trucks ready to go to cart away. This is what the reporter said. Here are the dump trucks ready to cart away the debris. And I thought to myself, debris? You don't need to be an attorney to recognize they're carting away the evidence of the biggest crime ever committed in the United States. And more as I listened on that day, I thought, something very wrong here. Government officials had to have approved all of those dump trucks to be sitting on the West Side Highway when they were trying to get all non-first responder vehicles out of the way so the first responders could get in. Not the dump trucks. They sat there, lined up, a whole lot of them. Some government official had to have approved that. So yeah, get rid of all of the evidence. Go ahead. Israel says the thousands of cars destroyed at the festival on October 7th are to be cut up into pieces and buried underground as a mark of respect to those killed. Yeah, the cars. Somehow, the cars destroyed. Disrespectful. Tell me how that works.
And you will say, what? You want us to make you look good? That's not my job. Your job is to make us look good. Our job is not to make you look good, American Jews. What do you have to worry about? Your job is to make us look good. And here's how you do it. Every one of us has to serve 3 years in the Army, 2 years in the Army, some of us 5 years, and then for the rest of our lives, you have got to serve 2 or 3 years in the army of words. You've got to learn to fight the political battle, which is even more important at this point than the military battle that we are. We'll fight the military battle. We're not asking you necessarily to come and be lone soldiers, although some of you can. You've got to learn how to fight back on the campuses, how to make the arguments. Now, they keep shifting. You know, the ground keeps shifting under us. They keep changing the language. Intersectionality wasn't even a word 10 years ago. Now suddenly it's intersectionality. You've got to stay on top of it. And you know how we train for the Army? We don't train for defensive warfare. If the war against Israel ever had to be fought on Israeli soil, do I have to tell you? It's an impossibility. So it's the same thing. Don't let the war of words ever be fought about Israel's nature. Let it be fought about why you can't accept Israel, why you have to single out this tiny people. Try to find Israel on the map. It's hardly there. You know, we used to play this game, Where's Waldo? Where is Waldo on the map? Are you going to really tell me that this is the country you want to blame? Teach them how to defend by attacking. Teach them really what one says as in fencing. You've got to do that. You've got to make demands on them. They've got to serve for 3 years in the army of words.
Did you hear that, American Jews? That's what you have to do. You have to use your words for 3 years, defending everything that Israel does. But there are an awful lot of Jews, awful lot of Israelis, who are dead set against what that woman just said. But hey, this older man here dancing, I stand with Israel. Yeah, he's a good soldier for, the army of words.
God bless Israel. Killers, right? You stand with baby killers. You're baby killers. You stand with baby killers. Baby killers, you right to be a baby killer, right? Get out of here. So you proud of killing babies and children and stuff like that? You proud of that? You proud of that? You baby killer? You proud of that? You're disgusted, just like the IDF. You're disgusted. I hope you know that. You're proud of genocide. You're disgusted. You know what I'm saying, right? That's the music. That's the music. You a whole ass criminal. Yo, get the fuck out of here. Yo, get out of here. You're a criminal. Get the fuck out of here.
It just goes on. Man, nothing like, trying to incite violence. This guy comes dancing, I stand with Israel, amongst an awful lot of those Palestinian supporters. We're a crazy people. Now, thank you, Razor Queen. Is it really Grace, really graceful? She got this. I have to read this. Hi, Grace. I'm Ido from the Movers community. I wanted to personally reach out to you for a paid opportunity with the goal of promoting a positive view of Israel. We operate a user-friendly platform featuring original content endorsed by Israel's government advertising agency, where members actively promote curated, pure Israeli content, becoming ambassadors with just a few clicks. Interested, Grace? Let's discuss details and compensation. We're few against many, but together we will win. The influencers. They want more and more influencers. Israel's government advertising agency. Wow. Again, I want to say, I've never been this, passionate, forceful in speaking about what is going on between the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. We're going to call it a conflict. It's not a conflict. It is abject evil that is descending upon the Palestinians. Am I talking about all Jews and Israelis? I think most of you know I am not. I will call out evil. I will call out liars. I will call out bullshit, hypocrisy in any group. And boy, there's a lot going on. How about this? This is what your taxes are paying for. You have no water? We'll show you how to shit. There are so many videos of the IDF. These kinds of videos. They pull them down. They put them up. They pull them down. This is sick shit going on. It's kind of like the nurse dancing, the doctors dancing, the COVID. I'm not quite sure how to really describe what we're living today, but a whole lot of people are not well. Too many people are really not well. Mentally, spiritually, psychically. Academic freedom under fire as Gaza burns. That's right. So, universities, colleges, academic freedom and freedom of expression on university campuses across the Anglosphere, Western countries, have continued to come under attack in the past week, with Israeli lobbyists conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. And it ain't gonna work with me, and I sure hope that it doesn't work with anybody with a working brain cell still. Very different Zionism. Very different. You cannot equate Zionism with Judaism, especially a mosquito. I'm looking at a mosquito in December when we've had such cold temperatures in the morning. In fact, woke up yesterday morning, no water. Because the water hose is just a garden hose lying on the ground. And it was frozen. Okay. I'm also right ear, high-pitched tone just started. Especially when you have a lot of Hasidic Jews who, wow. I saw this, I don't know if I've pulled it up, but it was an auditorium of like 60,000 Hasidic Jews who are together, and the whole rally was against what Israel is doing. Okay? So, but universities are going along with it, governments are going along with it, our U.S. government, our congressional reps just passed legislation saying that anyone who is anti-Zionist is anti-Semitic. How dare they, in my name as an American, pass that legislation? Don't you think Americans should be at least put up a referendum? Let Americans vote. No. We will decide. We're the important people. We allowed this to happen by sitting back doing nothing.
Of the Israeli hostages being released. This morning, I woke up to find my account gone. Luckily, I was able to send in an appeal to get my account back. However, the video was not restored. And I now have a warning on my account. My name is Hana Katana, and I will not stop speaking out against Zionist extremism, ever. If they take this account, you can find me anywhere else. My name is Hana Katana. I think YouTube might be the safest place. I have other TikToks. I have Instagram. I have Twitter. anytime they try to silence me, I'm just going to start speaking up louder. And I encourage you all to do the same. We will not be silenced. All right? We will not be intimidated. The House passed a resolution yesterday claiming that speaking out against Zionism and standing up against Zionism is a form of anti-Semitism. That is not true. I asked ChatGPT if conflating Zionism with Judaism could be potentially harmful to the Jewish community. This is what it said. The conflation of Zionism with Judaism can lead to the perception that all Jews support or are responsible for actions taken by the State of Israel. This generalization can contribute to anti-Semitic sentiments and discrimination. Criticism of Israeli policies should be separated from attitudes towards Jewish individuals, as opinions within the Jewish community vary widely. Associating all Jews with the actions of a specific government can perpetuate stereotypes and increase the risk of anti-Jewish prejudice. This is absolutely true. What our government is doing right now, by trying to act as if standing against Zionism is anti-Semitic, that is conflating Zionism with Judaism, and they are not the same thing. Standing against Zionism is not anti-Semitic. This is wrong what they are doing. This is extremely wrong, and it is extremely dangerous to the Jewish community and to everybody. There's so much I want to talk to you guys about, and I really, really, really pray that I'm gonna be able to get through to y'all. I don't know. However, my next video is gonna be about the different types of Zionism and how
Jew, to be a serious Jew, is to be against oppression, and Israel is a criminal, terrorist, oppressive state, and they claim to speak in the name of all Jews. They don't speak in my name, they don't speak in the name of many Jews in Britain and across the world. To be a Jew, to be a serious Jew, to be a serious Jew, is to be against oppression.
Now is the time for everybody to be speaking out loudly. Loudly. Because it's, look, we know our governments. We know the government officials. We know our leaders. They're lying psychopaths. Is it not time for the people to start screaming to get rid of them and to stop all of this very obvious evil that is literally destroying a whole lot of people's lives? Is it not time?
This occupation is an ongoing criminal act of war crimes after war crimes, and we are not willing to continue to take part in this war.
I should preface this. Ex-Israeli Air Force pilot exposes Zionists.
This occupation is an ongoing criminal act of war crimes after war crimes, and we are not willing to continue to take part in these war crimes. As a child in Israel, you are being brought up in a very strong Zionist militaristic education. You don't know almost anything about Palestine. You don't know about the Nakba in 1948. You don't know about the ongoing oppression. And I realized during the Second Intifada that what the Israeli Air Force and the Israeli military is doing is a war crime, terrorizing a population of millions of Palestinians. And when I realized that, I decided to not just leave, but to organize other pilots that will publicly refuse to take part in these crimes. It was a psychological and very difficult process, but once you realize that you are part of a terrorist organization, you understand that you have to say no, you have to take the consequences. I was fired from all companies I worked for in Israel, and it was hard to, because I support the Palestinian struggle, and because I give lectures all around the world, because I am part of the boycott, divestment and sanctions.
Yep.
I want the governments to understand how much this has changed us all. Watching this go on, it's completely altered my brain chemistry. I will never, ever forget some of the things that have gone on. It's not happened to us, but it's affected us in a mental way it's a total mental shift. I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking like this. Obviously, we're not as affected as the Palestinians. I'm not going to try and take anything away from what's happened to them, because they are living in hell. Israel, that's where they're living. But I want the governments of the world to understand that how much this is not going to go away. We're going to continue to talk about it years, decades later. This is going to be written about in history books, and who sat idly by and who was complicit with this genocide. This is never going away. It's never, ever, ever going away. This will stay with us forever. Seeing these children underneath rubble, seeing these children with limbs all gone, seeing these children with their intestines on the outside. What do they think is going to happen? Life cannot continue the same way. I think I'm just going to continue working and not thinking about this shit. This will always stay with me, and I know I'm not the only one.
This is having a big impact on an awful lot of people.
Hi everyone, my name is Yula and I am an artist and filmmaker in Toronto. I am also an Israeli citizen. I left Israel 23 years ago and I've been living in Canada ever since. Here's my Israeli passport. Here's my Israeli ID. And Army exemption card. I didn't serve in the Army. Last week, I submitted an application to renounce my Israeli citizenship in the consulate here in Toronto. It wasn't a decision I made lightly. I've been thinking about it for a long time. In fact, from the moment I learned about the real history of the place where I grew up, the history that wasn't taught to us in schools or even talked about while I was living there, until last week at the consulate, it's been a really long process that took 2 decades. Yes, I did it in response to Israel's horrific assault on Gaza. But since this isn't the first time that Israel is bombing Gaza, why now? Why this moment? Because the amount of casualties has reached catastrophic proportions, and even though we're in a temporary ceasefire or pause or whatever you want to call it right now, it seems like it's not going to end anytime soon. And even Israeli officials are saying that after the pause, they intend to keep bombing for 2 more months at least.
So, the conflation of Zionism with anti-Semitism, or anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. They are implicitly saying that if you're against Zionism, you're against Jews. That's like saying if you're against Nazis, you're against Germans. Completely false. And a whole lot of people buy it. That's what's scary. Here's Spain's former Minister of Social Rights, Ione Belarra.
Y la segunda cosa que a mí me parece la fundamental.
I will try to read. At the second thing that seems fundamental to me is related to the propaganda apparatus deployed worldwide by the State of Israel, which in my opinion is the crux of the matter and unfolds in 3 stages. These stages are the reasons behind the total dehumanization of the Palestinian people and in association with terrorism, enabling actions against this population that would not be allowed under circumstances anywhere in the world. The first element, in my view, is the silence which the State of Israel has managed to implement. What this has accomplished is that there is no discussion possible about this conflict. On one hand, there is total dehumanization. Palestinian victims die without names, without families, without a story. Meanwhile, Israeli hostages, the people killed, as it should be, have names, stories, families, and are known. However, the names, faces, and stories of all victims need to be recognized. This dehumanization is what allows the implementation of an extermination policy, as we are witnessing, and when someone speaks up, criminalization occurs, which is the third element that, in my opinion, is crucial to point out. And we've got an awful lot of criminalization going on. All right, Israeli intelligence knew October 7 attack plan a year in advance. This is the 9/11. This is the Israeli Zionist government, the IDF, allowing the attack to occur. On October 8th, the day after the Hamas attack, I penned an article calling bullshit on the intelligence failure narrative that emerged immediately in the aftermath. How could the governing authorities and media call it confidently an intelligence failure mere hours after the event, just as the same narrative emerged just following the 9/11 attacks in Manhattan? Basic logic defied the intelligence failure story. Gaza is among the, if not the, most heavily surveilled strips of land on Earth, both from the air, satellite and drone surveillance, and via Mossad spooks on the ground, what the so-called intelligence community calls human intelligence, or HUMINT, because it loves insular jargon. The Israeli government controls all of Gaza's borders in a total siege-style blockade. Nothing goes in or out without the state's blessing. The October 7, well, that's a typo. The October 7 operation involved tens of thousands of operatives and a bevy of equipment that would be virtually impossible to move into and around Gaza without detection. Hamas clearly had international financial and logistical support, which could not have flowed into the Strip without detection. Months, if not years of planning went into the operation, including erecting a mock Israeli town inside of Gaza to use for practice. This is a hyperlink. A mock Israeli town. And it's not coming up. Okay, Hamas built a mock Israeli town in Gaza and practiced its attack in plain sight, but Israel didn't react. Really? So the picture's not coming up? I had it up. A mock town. Okay. So, we have to realize that all terrorists work together. The Israeli Zionist government is a terrorist organization. The US government is a terrorist organization. The UK is a terrorist organization. I have said that the axis of evil is US, UK, Israel. Don't you think? Yeah. Israel has created Hamas. They fund Hamas. So does the United States. Right after October 7 attack, the U.S. gave Hamas $150 million. After the attack. You think they're working together? Hamas clearly had international financial and logistical support which could not have flowed into the Strip without detection, months, if not years of planning. Yep, mock Israel town inside of Gaza to use for practice. Israeli intelligence literally watched these training sessions from outposts on the border. These are hyperlinks here. I will put the link to the article in the chat. Hamas, sponsored by Iran, had enormous geopolitical incentive to attack when it did, as Israel was on the verge of signing normalization agreements with the Sunni Muslim world that would have threatened Iranian interests, which Israel well understood. Netanyahu's historically controversial and unpopular government was barely clinging to power at the time of the attack, the target of unprecedentedly intense and large protests. Bibi himself was on the verge of imprisonment on corruption charges, an excuse to wage what could be framed as an existential war and remain in power indefinitely, which has since transpired, was seemingly the only way to remain for Netanyahu and his hardline allies to remain in office and out of prison. This objective necessarily would have required ignoring actionable intelligence. This is by no means an exhaustive list of the reasons that point to the impossibility of Israeli intelligence ignorance of the impending attack and the incentives that all parties involved had led to October 7 play out the way it did. It subsequently came out that the substantially less powerful Egyptian intelligence, which does not operate in sovereign Israeli territory of the Gaza Strip, as Mossad does, knew of the attack beforehand and warned their Israeli counterparts. And now we have further vindication. Okay. Read the article. Goes on. Israeli officials obtained Hamas's battle plan for the October 7 terrorist attack more than a year before it happened, via the New York Times. But Israeli military and intelligence officials dismissed the plan as aspirational, considering it too difficult for Hamas to carry out. Oh, really? The approximately 40-page document, which the Israeli authorities codenamed Jericho Wall, outlined point by point exactly the kind of devastating invasion that led to the deaths of about 1,200 people. The translated document, which was reviewed by the New York Times, did not set a date for the attack, but described a I'm sorry, the exhaust fumes from that truck are just so bad. Really bad. Okay, this is when my brain gets too tired. Described an assault designed methods in detail to overwhelm the fortifications around the Gaza Strip, take over Israeli cities, and storm key military bases, including a division headquarters. Hamas followed the blueprint with shocking precision. The plan also included details about the location, the size of Israeli military forces, communication hubs, and other sensitive information, raising questions about how Hamas gathered its intelligence and whether there were leaks inside the Israeli security establishment. It is pretty friggin' obvious. Netanyahu corruption trial resumes. Ah, wow. In spite of Israel's ongoing war in Gaza. Isn't this interesting? The trial was suspended due to the October 7 attacks, and now it's resuming. Well, I think there are establishment people who want to get rid of Netanyahu. But Netanyahu is accused of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, allegations he denies, of course. And the minister of Likud called the resumption of proceedings during a war a disgrace. War? Captives? No. The most important thing now is to renew Netanyahu's trial. A whole lot of Israelis want Netanyahu gone. Gone. I'll post the link to this article. So, and here, the Haaretz publication, the news publication in Israel, definitively debunks iconic horror stories from October 7. The beheaded babies, the babies burned in an oven, and I can't even read this. I'm just... The Hamas, this is the Haaretz article, the headline. The Hamas massacre led to the spread of horror stories, not all of which happened in reality. The truth is hard enough. Okay. And a whole lot. We don't know how many Israeli civilians were killed in that attack because more information is coming out that they were attacking a military headquarters. Hamas, I just read that. So, a whole lot of IDF soldiers were killed. Warning: graphic content. Another refugee camp reportedly hit as Israel bombs Gaza. Another refugee camp.
Israeli forces bombed wide areas of
So I guess I can't play it. Following content may contain graphic or violent imagery, and it won't play. Played earlier for me, now it's not going to play? Okay. Alright. Yeah. Good old YouTube. Why Messiah prophecy haunts Netanyahu? Oh, all of the prophecy believers. You're creating so much suffering.
The Bible says that there is a time for peace and a time for war. לעולם לא נשכח את מעשי הזוועה שעשו לנו אויבינו. אנחנו הולמים באויבינו בעוצמה חסרת תקדים. אני מדגיש, זאת רק ההתחלה. They've made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come.
Israel has responded with fury. Fighter jets taking aim at targets in the Palestinian territory.
More than 10,000 people have been killed since this conflict began.
كل الدار فيها 1000 واحد هنا في المنطقة كلهم استشهدوا.
As the Israel-Hamas war drags on, backlash against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is growing at home. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert has heavily criticized Netanyahu.
He's the worst person to have to deal with it. I think that he is really in a nervous breakdown. A person who has portrayed himself and presented himself for many years as Mr. Security failed in the most fundamental obligation for his citizens, which is to provide them with security.
Today, Netanyahu's leadership is on the verge of imploding, deeply unpopular with his own people and under immense pressure from the international community.
La lutte doit être sans merci, mais pas sans règles.
This is a fall from grace for a man who was reportedly told by one of the most powerful Jewish religious figures in the world that he would be the one to welcome the Messiah.
I'll put the link in. It's a 13-minute video and you just listen to 2 minutes. Yeah. Well, a whole lot of people do want him gone, and that's why they resumed the trial.
The ceasefire is over. We can already hear the bombing, and I'm at a hospital. There was a hit about 50 meters from here. This is the biggest still functioning hospital in Gaza. It's at 200% capacity. Yes, this is a hospital. The health system here is overwhelmed. This hospital simply cannot take more children with the wounds of war. There are children everywhere. These children are sleeping. There was a bomb literally 50 meters from here. I cannot overstate how the capacity has been reduced of hospitals in the last 7 weeks. We cannot see more children with the wounds of war, with the burns, with the shrapnel littering their body, with the broken bones. Inaction by those with influence is allowing the killing of children. This is a war on children. The ceasefire is over.
I guess even Western reporters are feeling the impact.
Do you see this place? This is the Mawasi. Mawasi is the place that they told people to go from Khan Yunus to to Mawasi or Rafah. So it's, you know, they wrote in the leaflet that Mawasi will be safe. See, Mawasi definitely will be safe. It's just sands, empty places. Where is the water here? Fuel? Any electricity? Any ceilings? Any places? Any buildings? Of course it will be safe. Of course it will be safe. Because there is no place to bomb it all over us. Okay? We'll die here because of hunger.
Desperate residents of Khan Yunis flee on foot, carrying what they can of their belongings. On Monday, Israel ordered people out of swathes of the main southern city in the Gaza Strip. As they left, bombs fell on areas still described as safe. Many are being displaced for a second or third time since the war broke out on October 7th. Hamdi Zahir from northern Gaza says he sheltered for a month in the Ashifa hospital, then was ordered south to the safe areas they're now being told to evacuate. Send us to the grave and be done with it, he says. Some 80% of Gaza's 2.3 million people have now been made homeless in an Israeli bombing campaign that has reduced much of the crowded coastal strip to a desolate wasteland. Israeli forces largely captured the northern half of Gaza in November. Since a week-long truce collapsed on Friday, they have pushed deep into the southern half. This house in Khan Yunis was struck overnight. Nisreen Abdulmoti lives next door with her daughter and 2-year-old baby.
They told us to move from the north to Khan Yunis since the south is safer. And now they've bombed Khan Yunis. Even Khan Yunis is not safe now. And even if we move to Rafah, Rafah is not safe either. Where do they want us to go?
The parts of Khan Yunis people were ordered to leave were home to more than 350,000 people before the war, the UN says, not counting the hundreds of thousands who crowded in to take shelter from the bombs. Medical officials in the enclave say Israel's bombing has killed more than 15,500 people, with thousands more missing and feared buried under the rubble. Israel launched its assault to annihilate Hamas in retaliation for the October 7th attack by its gunmen, who killed 1,200 people and seized 240 hostages, according to Israeli tallies.
What link are you talking about, Elizabeth? Was it this? The link, if it was, the link is in the chat. Total blackout on Gaza. In Gaza. It's surreal to watch everybody just go about their lives. And, yeah, Netanyahu, well, we've got boots on the ground. American soldiers as well. It's the killing fields. All over again. Elizabeth, I think I got the right link for you, which is right above your last comment. I'll put the link in to this interview with a man who was a hardened Zionist who came out of it, and you can listen to his process, how he came out and then started supporting Palestinians. So he's being interviewed by a Palestinian, and he's no longer a Zionist. It takes an awful lot of work to rid yourself of your indoctrinated mind. And this guy, man, wow. How sick. But he's just a representation of a lot of Americans.
Yield the floor to my friend.
Indonesia appeal to the US to do more to stop the atrocities in Gaza. Ceasefire is a must for the sake of humanity. Once again, thank you for your invitation, President Biden. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we met outside, as you get out of your automobile, we had a very important discussion on climate. Yield the floor to my friend.
Stupid fucking. He's calling for a ceasefire, and he goes off with the important conversation we had about climate. Doesn't even care, doesn't register, just the stupid schmuck. Holy shit. And here. Yeah. Israeli diplomat pressured U.S. college to drop course on apartheid debate. Shut up. Don't tell the truth. Don't tell the truth. Life becomes meaningless. When we don't have truth, it becomes meaningless. When so many people are lying, it really, we talk about the electromagnetic frequencies, the entrainment of these frequencies sucking out our energy. But we don't talk about those fabulous frequencies that we're putting out into the world, sucking out people's energy. The really bad frequencies, the lying, the gossiping, the blaming, the scapegoating, the gaslighting, the not helping, one another. Just, oh, well, elderly being put out on the street. Well, who cares? I'm just going to have a good weekend. I'm sick of it. We needed an army of good to go after this kind of evil. And we didn't do it. We didn't get it done. The most important thing about, what is going on right now, and we failed to capture it. So, people make choices, and those choices bring you to crossroads at a certain point in your life. A whole lot of people just even miss the crossroads. They're not even aware that they're at a crossroad because they lack the awareness, a self-awareness. Very often people choose to go off on the evil road instead of the good road. And then they become evil when they stay on that road. And we've got an awful lot of people just like that. I don't like life meaningless. I don't like living it. Live honestly and speak honestly. Thank you for showing up. I hope to see you tomorrow night. Good night and good luck and stay safe. Ciao.